We live from Orlando, Florida. Live from Orlando, Florida is Jake and my dad.
We're live here from Orlando, Florida. Get a view of the extra view.
The extra view of the lake there. I'm gonna check out, just make sure technical factors are good with the stream. Looks like we're looking good right now. Hopefully everyone can hear us for the 0 people that are in here, but hopefully you can watch us afterwards anyway. But basically I did my movie review of Godzilla -1, did a solo review, and then we went back to see it again where Jake was able to see it, my dad. So Jake, do you want to give your initial thoughts of the movie since you haven't given your review?
Yeah, Godzilla -1 was a movie that I was probably not going to see if it wasn't for the word of mouth from obviously Kenny and also a lot of the reactors and movie reviewers that we respect. And I was definitely pleasantly surprised with the movie. Being a Japanese film with English subtitles, it definitely would be one that even Godzilla based just did not really pique my interest. I've never been that much of a fan of the Japanese iterations of Godzilla. Now there have been some cool shots and cool things about it, but I just haven't watched it growing up. So this is not one that I was really excited for, and really had some doubts going into it. But leaving the theater, it was just it was really one of the best Godzilla movies I think I've seen in my life. As far as just a Godzilla movie goes, you got Godzilla. The human element is usually where the things can drag, but in this one, there was such an emotional pull with the main character, what the message that was being sent, which was just a kind of a message of dealing with trauma, loss, and just a lot of different psychological elements there. And the fact that you throw that into a Godzilla movie, it would make it, the effects are really cool, great characters, uh, kind of a simple storyline, but it doesn't need to be anything more than that. So overall, this is a really, really great movie, and one that I could easily say might be the best Godzilla film I've seen.
Yeah, do you want to, I guess, give your score at the end, or do you want like time?
I was going back and forth between an 8.5 and a 9. I think I'll just go with a 9 for now, just because it is one that I think I might see again, and it just was just a really solid movie with the emotional weight to what was going on. And for a movie to do that and not even have the language that I speak in the movie and having to read subtitles, which can be somewhat of a pain at times, that says a lot about the movie, which is why I'm going to end up going with a 9 out of 10 for this for Godzilla -1.
Yeah, that's the same way I felt. I thought that was going to bother me, but then after it started, I'm used to listening to English, but then after a while, I was just blown away. Yeah, I do think. Well, we can get to the specific spoilers, but I do think someone's kind of comparing this to, since Godzilla's bad, it's kind of like a Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger type vibe because Godzilla's bad, but it's like that kind of movie where you kind of want to see him destroy things, but then in this movie, it takes a totally different turn because you actually care about the characters versus that. But yeah, I guess we can just get into the spoilers because there's so much stuff I want to talk about in the regular review. And why don't we just start out with the way this movie starts out is something. When I was sitting in the theater, I was just, okay, let's see how this is. I'm going to give it a chance. And from the get-go, you see the dinosaur type Godzilla that is not superpowered. He's not giant. He's still big, but you just see him absolutely tear up all these people on this island. And I guess, do you want to give your initial thought of that? I thought it was an insane scene.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you had mentioned how at the beginning kind of threw you into it, so I was kind of expecting that to happen. Now, if I saw it the first time, that was pretty crazy. Really cool intro to this character, and obviously, this is a smaller version of Godzilla at the very beginning. But just from just being at this base, you hear the sound, and you expect, like, are they being raided by an enemy? And then you realize it's a Godzilla, and the way that they did it really did remind me of the beginning of Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, and how that works with the darkness of like a kind of along the beach. It's not only the beach in Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, but it is along the water, and just something about that type of I don't know. It's from the perspective of the humans. It's just super scary, and you can put yourself in their position, and just the scale of this thing, and how you have no idea what this thing is. Even though one of the guys said Godzilla, but I'm sure you wouldn't really know that in the moment if that was like your world. But yeah, it's definitely quite the spectacle there, and definitely throws you right in. It really sets the tone for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, they do they mention in that scene that the one guy has heard from locals that it's called Godzilla. They kind of mentioned that in the when all the crap's going down. But I do think the scene in particular, just the way the soundtrack, which I was showing Jay the soundtrack. I mean, just I was listening to just the soundtrack, and it's so perfect. And the thing about this movie is the way Godzilla, the sound effects, the visuals, and the music all together is just such a perfect combination. And so when Godzilla is just standing there, his growls and this the way he growls to the sound effects and the music just make this scene freaking phenomenal. And it is kind of like out of a horror movie. It really is because he's terrifying.
Yeah.
And I think the scene where he's picking them off, he reaches down, just freaking grabs them, he throws them, which is interesting. I thought he didn't eat them. I thought that was kind of weird. He picks them
Yeah.
up and so I don't know if
He-
there's some like message there.
yeah. And it does send the purpose though. He's murdering these people.
Yeah, maybe that's the point. Is like he's just on a rampage. He's not trying to eat them for survival. He's literally just on a rampage.
As you saw
And
later in the movie with the staring at the smoke, he obviously was there just to create destruction. It wasn't really about. It really had, that was my only really. There were some nitpicks of like, what's his goal other than just
yeah,
destroying crap.
that's true. He does share the smoke. But the yeah, here I'm trying to get these pictures. The main character in the movie is asked to go to the plane to shoot him, which I thought was really unfair. I mean, no one would want to freaking do that in a situation.
Yeah.
So I really felt bad for him. I'm thinking I wouldn't want to shoot it right there.
Yeah,
I
it was
mean,
very similar to Kong Skull Island when Packard uh, thinks that they can kill. They think they can strap whatever
yeah,
their most powerful weapon is to even put a dent in Kong. It's a little
yeah. If
far
only
fetched,
Packer was
but and then
Packer was
also
there,
he's
son of a bee.
yeah he's even saying kill the son of a bee. Here, Dad, do you want to give your thoughts?
Oh yeah, that's true. Wait, no, wait, is Dad sitting down next to you? Yeah, yeah, Dad. Do you want to give your initial thoughts on the movie and score?
Sure.
Yeah, let me get the talking chair here.
I
Let,
forgot
let,
you
let
were
me
here.
let me get in on this here for movie mania.
Live from Orlando, Florida, is Barry Martin.
Keep that on the down low, but yeah, we're here. So my thoughts on Godzilla -1. Is that it?
Yeah, like what are your initial thoughts and your score, if you want to just give that right on.
Well, first of all, I still want to know why it's -1, but maybe you can go into detail on that one later.
Well, I think the trailer kind of talks about how Japan they lost the war, so they basically went from zero to minus with Godzilla. That's where they're kind of teasing there.
Okay. Yeah, it definitely
That
was a rough run for him there. No, I think definitely I liked the movie, and I was surprised to like it. To be honest with you, now I heard the good reviews from somebody I trust in yourself, and some guys at work, and a guy on the radio. I don't know that I've heard any negative reviews on this movie, and I think most people, are going into it to where this movie's definitely a bonus from what they're thinking. Unlike other movies that maybe going with all this different things that you think it's going to be great, and then it's hard to match that.
yeah
But for me personally, the movies again, it just there hasn't been as many in the last so many years, or at least they're not in abundance like they were. So it is important to hit these different movies, and I liked it. I was surprised that a movie that wasn't made here. Not that there's other countries, there's other people making really good movies, but the Japan movies that I remember of Godzilla when I was younger, like I was telling you, they're just they were good when you were a little kid because there really wasn't many other options. They were very simple, and they were brutal in like the different ways that they presented things, on screen.
yeah the
Uh,
effect.
the effects, the talking was off, with how they did that. So this was 100 times better. I mean, this movie really blew it out of the water, and I was definitely impressed. I enjoyed it, and thought they did a good job.
Yeah. So what would you give your score out of 10? If you already did you already give it?
Out of 10, I honestly, when I first left, I was thinking 8. But then when you throw into all the factors of what we're talking about, and the money that was spent, which I was told wasn't much, for a movie of this magnitude, I would probably go 8.5 to 9, and I guess I'll stick at 8.5. It probably should be a 9. Like again, with the money that was spent and where it was made, and things like that. But I would definitely recommend this movie. I think it was really good, and I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what might be next with this.
Yeah, I started out at an 8, and then I went to a 9, and then honestly now I'm at a 9.5 because the only negative I can really think of is I wanted a little more Godzilla. But we were just talking about that beginning scene. We're going to spoilers. What are your thoughts on that beginning scene? If there's any spoilers you wanted to talk about.
So yeah, the beginning scene was good, but it kind of hurt me that I had talked to you first, and then I heard a guy on the radio, like I said, that thought the movie was good, but he said the beginning and end were great. So I was expecting something, and again, I thought it was really good. I think the other movies that have been made of Godzilla and the different characters that mix in with that, they've all been good. But I think I was telling you, the ones that they extend the size of these monsters to the point where I just think it's not right. Where these animals live. Now the ocean's one you can get away with that a little bit because it's so big, but I think some of the islands that some of these animals are on are monsters. They're not matching up to the size of these things. So I thought this Godzilla was much better to see him back to more of a normal monster size. That was relatable to the old movies. Obviously, this Godzilla was done much better. It's kind of weird. I kind of like the fact that Godzilla didn't move as fast on land. I don't know why. He was very nimble in the water, but on land, it was more. Maybe that threw it back to the old movies. But the beginning scene definitely was good, and yeah, I thought it was a good opening for that movie.
Yeah, so I guess we were kind of talking about that scene. I know soundtrack. Obviously, I could talk about that scene for hours. But then I guess the next scene, I don't know if we want to have Jake kind of on screen too. I don't know how you guys want to do it. We could have had 3 screens.
Well, here I think I can get him. He's sitting in a chair in the back.
A mile away back.
Well, the only other chair we have.
All right, so Jake, can you hear me?
Yeah, he's here.
All right, so basically, this movie takes on from there. You have the kamikaze pilot. Obviously, he survives this. He feels guilty about that. He has a lot of guilt building up. He finds the girl who has a baby she's trying to raise, and that's where the plot continues. And so he finally has people he cares about. Eventually, he has to care for him, and that leads to him finding a job that is dangerous, well-paying, as someone who's detecting the mines in the ocean left after the war. And that's related to the next excellent scene. I'm not trying to breeze. I'm trying to mainly cover the action scenes in this because the story I thought was phenomenal, and these characters were amazing. But the next scene where you see Godzilla, you basically see the U.S. warship crashed in the ocean because Godzilla took it out, and then you see this ship, and this is where they definitely refer to Jaws because they are all on a boat and they're up against something way bigger than what they can handle, and there's just this little crew there, and so eventually there was a few scenes I skipped, but you basically see one ship get taken out by Godzilla, and the pilot of the boat is just like, "Oh yeah, we're screwed. Let's get out of here." But then they end up dropping some mines to blow up Godzilla. One hits his spine, does nothing. Then another one they get in his mouth, which is totally Jaws callback there, and it blows up his face. Wait, what'd you say?
Well, I was gonna say I did like some of the references to real world things. Obviously, it's a Godzilla movie, so it's not 100% real. But the stuff about the Japanese war situations with the kamikaze pilots and the trauma that had to give to whoever was in there. I mean, obviously, as an American, you think of that as just just a really hard thing to understand. But for them to actually have to be thrown into that, like the whole message of him kind of wanting to. I mean, it almost sounded like he wanted to commit the kamikaze into Godzilla to like account for the guilt that he felt through his life. But
Yeah,
then to have the growth of the character that I thought was wanting him to do that as well, but then he actually was the one that installed the ejection part for him to get out of the plane was awesome to show like it's time to live and be there for your family. But the
character
references to like the post war situations with the mines and their job was to go in there and to like drag up the mines in a wood boat. It wouldn't set them off immediately, and just how dangerous that job must have been. But then it was really cool to see the shooting as well of the bombs to like detonate them in the distance.
Yeah, yeah, they had the machine gun, and then this movie definitely beats down the main character. You feel so bad for him because it's basically just one thing after another. one thing after another, and just keeps beating him down the whole time.
Yeah.
But then they finally get one bomb to blow up in his mouth, and that's where he's able to actually heal. But you see him really blow up. I mean, his head is done. His eye is gone. Then you can see him regenerate. Big scene in the movie. And then obviously the battleship comes in, hits him, basically kills him again, I feel like, but then he regenerates, goes over, destroys the ship, and this is just another excellent scene. And I know I even brushed over some other stuff, but Dad, you want to give your thoughts about that scene?
No, I thought they were great scenes. I think what you're talking about as far as like what Jake was talking about with just the how kind of seeing it from their side a little bit more. I mean, I've done a lot of history studying, but I think that movie it kind of interests you with that too, the human side of it. Like you were saying, you really did feel for that character. The storylines again, you go into a Godzilla movie like this, and you're just thinking kind of action and monsters, and it really did dive into different things. That they did a good job of laying out the different storylines for the characters. You did really, you had mentioned this, and I felt the same way, that you really did feel a lot of the things that were going on as best you could without living that, which would be horrible. But just all the different fallout from the things that went on at that time. And I thought the regeneration thing for Godzilla I thought that was kind of cool. Because when that thing blew up in his mouth, I'm thinking, what the hell's going on? Because this is.
Shoot. Dad, can you hear me? Great. Something happened with the audio. Jake, what happened with the audio? Is someone calling you? Is that why it's moving? It's muted.
Did you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. But now you're gone.
Joel was calling me.
Now you're gone. It's all black. I can't see anything.
Hold on, let me try to
hit the screen just shut off.
Hold on. Can you see me?
No, it's all black.
Here, should I leave and try to rejoin?
Yeah, that's fine. Technical difficulties here on Movie Mania. We will be right back after after a brief message from our sponsor that we don't have. All right, now let me see if I can invite someone back in here. Remove guest. I guess I should try to remove and then add guest. Okay, I'm gonna message the link here. All right. We should be adding Jake back in here. Jake, can you hear me?
Okay.
Back.
All right, we're back.
Hey, Joel tried calling.
All right, so please no more phone calls during the live stream. Thank you. Wait, what was Joel trying calling for the movie review?
No, he was calling to. I called him 10 minutes ago to bash LeBron for a second.
Yeah. Well, this is a movie channel, so we can get the points off here.
Let me try. I don't want to do a Bill O'Reilly here, all right? Let's not. I was kind of done, but I just hope I reiterated enough, of what you were saying. Just it was good storyline, did a good job, but I was glad to see Godzilla had that ability to come back. Because when that bomb blew up in his mouth, I thought that was still something that might kill him. And so anyway, I thought it was a good job. And going to the reference on the kamikaze pilots, I think if you were drawing one thing there is Japan, it was like an order. In Japan, that they were made to do it. And so if you didn't, you were expected to be dead regardless. Now, if you relate to who we are, America, you were told to go do a job, and then it was a choice, if you were going to complete that task that way, which pilots of all countries made those decisions. But I think the key is that in Japan, those were orders given to do that. So, but again, great movie, really good character. I guess, are we allowed to talk about what happened in the movie? Or
yeah, first, Joel is in the chat. Good to see you. Glad to see you here.
Joel.
And hopefully you've seen our technical difficulties here. But we're back to being live. And no, I did want to mention I did like how he had the regeneration, because when he gets hit by the battleship, I thought it was cool how you actually saw him take damage. because then you could actually a lot of the Godzillas when they get hit by stuff. I mean, it's like a freaking grain of sand is hitting him. Nothing happens. So when he was hit by the battleship, you could tell he took the hits, and friggin' you can tell just the force those hits took, and he falls down, and then when he heals up, he comes back with a vengeance and climbs on the battleship, and the music there is perfect.
Yeah.
He freaking punches the battleship, then he actually gets shot again, falls down, but it's cool to see that he's vulnerable and that it's actually kind of cool in that aspect. Then he blows up the battleship, and he comes up and he's all charred, and he does uh the friggin' growl, which is just so epic, into the music and the bass of the growl, especially excellent, with just how it sounded. And then he turns around and leaves. And just once again, the Godzilla scenes, there's not that many of them, but they're so amazing that it makes up for it.
I agree. And hey Joel, how you doing? But I definitely like the Jaws reference in there because I think the Jaws movie is good, but the part out on the ocean is epic. It's great. So that even diving into that a little bit, I thought added even more to the movie.
Wait, Jake, do you want to add to that scene?
Which one?
Just the boat scene, that whole scene.
At the end?
No, when they were
No, like
Jaws.
Oh yeah, no, one of the, yeah, just the way that his head's out of the water was pretty scary if you think about it. You're on such a tiny boat, you're already out in the ocean, you're completely helpless in that situation. And
oh yeah.
to see that massive, you're always afraid of something that big showing up. So for that to actually be there, it's just a scary image by itself. But I definitely like the Jaws reference later on in the movie as well, when the scientists, the main like the brains behind the organization, uh, behind like the plan, he was like, someone questioned the plan, and he's like, do you have any better suggestions?
Yeah, I know. Seriously, he's drawing all these.
Yeah, like when Hoover says you can try to get it in the mouth.
Yeah, that was true.
Yeah, does he really think this Boy Scout stuff's going? No, but
Predator too. But
that's true. That scene, the first scene in that with the boat, they drop that first mine and it goes in his scales. It blows up and they're like, "Did it work?" And then you see him come out of the wave with his head up because it was just his scales at first. I thought that was such a cool entrance scene there. That's the first time. And the effects here, I mean, are just phenomenal. And for this budget, and for people saying they were complaining about the effects, I just couldn't believe it because I was thinking these are perfect effects.
I agree.
yeah, I thought that was kind of a ridiculous scene though, Kenny. They dropped the freaking bomb in the water, and Godzilla purposely puts his mouth over it so it goes right into his mouth.
Well, I don't think he purposely did. He was just swimming that way already.
I mean, that's kind of ridiculous. He literally opened his mouth so it went into his mouth and sat there.
Well, you can see he's usually swimming like that so you can fire the atomic breath. But I do think he was kind of just, in my opinion, that scene, he was just messing around. Because you notice how he's kind of swimming there, and he gets blown up in the mouth, but I don't think he expected it to do that much damage. But then after that, remember the battleship? He kind of like kicks it into high gear. He gets peed off. He's like, all right, I'm done with this crap. He swims over and just freaking annihilates that battleship.
Yeah.
But we can kind of go to the next scene because after that, he stands up, obviously growls with the smoke around him, just freaking epic. And then after that, he wakes up. When Godzilla's walking in, there's kind of the normal Godzilla theme playing, which is obviously just a callback to the Godzilla movies.
Yeah.
But he is killing people in that moment, so people were kind of complaining about that, how it's kind of not happy music, but just like the classic Godzilla music as he's killing millions of people. I kind of understand that because I could have used maybe a little more serious song there. But eventually, after he comes through, he's knocking everyone down. He kills these reporters on top of a building. And then he eventually rears up. He's getting attacked by planes, and he prepares his atomic breath, which I saw from the trailer. And I wasn't sure how this was going to look. I was thinking, like, it causes an atomic bomb. I was doubting it the whole time. But then seeing the movie, I thought it was just freaking amazing. The way his spines go up, and then he shoots the beam, and then it causes an actual atomic bomb that blows everything out and it sucks everything back in. and Godzilla is just standing there admiring the atomic bomb. I mean, it really is an unbelievable friggin' scene with that the atomic breath. But
Yeah.
what
I think it. I mean, yeah. That is. I'm trying to think back of all the other movies that are in these series. I mean, that has to be one of the biggest weapons of any monster that's out there. I mean, for me personally, I was kind of hoping he would just have the fire breath. I think that's enough. But the movie line is something to do with, which I thought it was going to explain a little bit more of what was going on. You assume, I don't know that it was, maybe I missed that in one of those lines, but the why he's so atomic. You assume from all the testing that was going on. I don't know.
yeah,
Maybe
you got to that one thing, but
yeah, but I still personally, it's a hell of a weapon. Best one I've seen. I think it was done really well, like you said. But I wish it would have just been more like fire breath, that he had.
like, you wish he was powered down, where he was just like
No, I don't know. I just that kind of weapon is, you know, it's. I mean, I don't know.
too powerful.
Yeah, it's just it really, and especially, I mean, you feel for Japan for sure because they'd already been through that a few times, and why he has that wrath for them, I don't know. Um, but it is, for what it's worth, that is one of the best weapons I've seen a monster have.
Yeah, having the atomic breath happen and then like have it cut to the silence is similar to the Star Wars: The Last Jedi, or yeah, Last Jedi, which I'm not going to compliment that very often. But
Yeah, let's not get.
the way they have the ship go through the one ship and it goes silent, it does give an impact to that scene and gives just the crowd a chance to yeah. But that was kind of one connection I made to that scene.
Oh yeah, no, the scene where I mean, not only there's something about this movie. I swear, the way it was filmed, the music, the sound effects, the growl, just everything is perfect about it. And the way, especially like we were talking about, how once he unleashes the atomic breath, the bomb explodes. Obviously, I don't know the specific characters' names, but the girl in the movie pushes the main character off into the side. She gets blown away. But then Godzilla's standing there, just staring at the explosion, the smoke, and there's something so crazy about that scene. Seeing the smoke just go all the way just that high in the air, that shot in particular is crazy. Not even when he growls, but just to see how freaking crazy that explosion was and how high the smoke went was
Yeah,
just an amazing shot. And then when he growls, and then kind of the black rain happens and the main character's yelling. I mean, it's really an effective scene. At that moment, you thought she died. This is spoilers. Obviously, she doesn't.
Yeah.
But when you think she dies there, you're just thinking, wow, that really sets in your mind that okay, he's going to be on this path to kill Godzilla now for sure. Like that just locked in his mind. That's the only thing he's going to worry about. But in that moment, you got to think he knows he has no chance to kill him at that point. Like, how would they do anything? He's just this unstoppable force.
yeah.
Uh,
I mean, he was probably in dire straits at that point, but that definitely was a good part of the movie. I mean, a lot of really good movie, but yeah, a lot of tough things happen, especially to the one character in particular. But it was good to see that girl make it at the end. That was a positive.
Yeah, it's similar to in Kong Skull Island when Packard has the kind of the stare down with Kong when Kong's supposed to be this nice thing, but he perfectly destroys two helicopters staring at Packard through the flames. Like it was kind of the standoff almost in that way.
that's true. These movies, they're very different. But Kong and that, I just did a matchup with them, but they are pretty similar in that way. Where they're smaller monsters, relatively smaller monsters with the human character involvement. Uh, they are similar in that way for sure. I
I mean,
just thought about
obviously,
that.
I bought the Godzilla -1 connection more than Packard just wanting to. I do understand a little bit why Packard wanted to go after Kong, but obviously Packard's a little crazier than another
I
guy.
think a really good game plan to take out Godzilla. If I kill that son of a bee, and it would have fired up the entire house.
There actually is a connection. Both Packard and the main character are both guys that were kind of broken by war,
That's
basically.
true.
Because Packard was
Yeah.
so mad about pulling out of Vietnam that he was like, after seeing more of his men killed, he was like, that he set his mind on killing this thing would make up for all that a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. I would love to see man, I mean, it would have been out of place, but it would have been cool to see maybe Samuel L. Jackson like crashes in some plane at the end of the war, and he ends up over there.
Even though,
Interesting.
even though at the end, when Brie Larson's character says the world is bigger than this, and
I know.
Packer drops the beef please line.
Yeah, I know. Well, okay, but this, I don't know how much battery you've left, Jake. But basically, this movie, I think after this scene, there's a kind of a point where I said in my review, like this is where it kind of gets a little slow because they're doing a lot of game planning for how they're going to take out Godzilla. But honestly, the second time watching it, I kept waiting for a scene to be like, okay, that's what they should have taken out. But there's so many crucial lines and scenes in this entire like before the third act that I think they needed in there because they talk about like the main character, someone's telling him like, why didn't you marry the girl? And he's like, because my war isn't over yet. A big line because he basically just he was so haunted by that beginning scene, and he feels so guilty that he feels like he can't do anything else until he kills Godzilla, or at least makes it up to him, which is really sad. And that's why he feels so much for this character because he feels like he still is at his has his war. And then they have a lot of game planning, and then eventually, I think even though this third act is still fine, I think the best part of this movie is definitely the first and second act. The third act still has a cool scene with the battleship going in. Godzilla, there's a lot of stuff I'm skipping over. You can interrupt me if you want to. But Godzilla's in the walking out of the water. The main character has to lure him back in with the plane. And then he's in the water, and they have the battleships lined up. They have the one in the middle that has no one in it. So Godzilla is able to fire his atomic breath while in the water, which I thought was cool with his spikes popping up while swimming in the water. Yeah. Fires the one ship. There's no one in it. So they say they have to. He has to regenerate in order to fire it again. So they are able to circle him, get him to go under the water, and basically use compression and decompression to try to mess him up, which it doesn't kill him, but eventually.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that was a good attempt, within reality. I know this is a monster movie, so it's talking reality is a little tough, but I thought the way they related to how they, were vulnerable to him, and you are trying to figure out what can they really do. And you're talking about back then. You're not talking about now. Now you may have a laser gun, and then again, I don't even know what would kill Godzilla, to be honest with you, with how he regenerates. Now he's like the Michael Myers of these monsters, that are out there in these movies. So I'm glad he can regenerate, but there's got to be something that could put him away. But I thought with all the different ideas that they came up with, yeah, I think that's pretty. That's reality of just what they had available to them, how they dealt with it, and I thought it was a pretty good try to try to deal with that.
Yeah, basically you have some scenes before that where these characters' names, the main guy that survives with our main character in the beginning, like you said, is a lot of character development. You think he wants him to go in there and just do the kamikaze mission, just blow himself up and kill Godzilla, but you find out he actually gives him an ejector seat, allows him to live. And the whole scene with him leaving the note for his daughter, and then that whole way the scene plays out where he says one more thing, they don't say what it is. I honestly did not know what was going to happen. I didn't know whether he was going to survive or not, and I think that's really good credit to the film that I had no idea whether he was going to survive. I was thinking, yeah, maybe. I was like, oh, actually, probably won't. I just kept going back and forth. And then to find out, obviously, that the girl survives as well is a crazy thing. But I thought it was cool. I was like silent when he flies the plane in, explodes, and Godzilla is dead for the moment until he regenerates in the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I told you. I thought maybe he would swallow the plane. I guess I don't know how they match those two things up. I still want to see that again. I mean, that was one of those newer fighter jets at that time, but it still wasn't that big. And I thought he would swallow it down into his belly, which would have definitely made more sense to put him away. But I mean, again, within reason of what they were dealing with, that's about all they could do. And that plane looked bigger to me. I was glad to see that guy made it, but I like you, was 100% bought in that he was, that was how the movie was going to end, that he went down with that attempt.
Yeah, my dad has some problems with the size issue. I'm going to break that down in a video coming soon.
Yeah,
This
definitely.
scaling. But no, I thought it was a good way because the way he goes into his mouth, he explodes him, but then he was about to shoot the atomic breath, so it kind of causes a nuclear core reaction or whatever inside
Yeah.
to explode. But they keep the door open to where he can come back, obviously, because that's Godzilla. Godzilla fans don't want him to die. They want there to be another movie, which I understand, because if you kill him, then they want to leave the door open, which I appreciate. I mean, I appreciate that for movies, trying to leave the door open.
And there was an end credit scene.
That's true. And everyone that said there wasn't an end credit scene, I left the first time before and didn't wait. And this time we stayed, and you hear Godzilla footsteps, you hear a growl. So people saying there's not an end credit scene. Okay, maybe there's not a scene, but there's stuff at the end. So
Yeah.
I'm leaving a theater before the credits end again. I'm not.
Yeah, we heard a fly, and now we heard this.
Yeah, Evil Dead. There was a fly. Planet of the Apes. There was breathing.
I'm
Now
sure
got.
there's going to be another. I mean, this movie, you could tell me. Do you have any idea what the profit line is on this? It's got to be above what they spend.
Oh yeah, no, it's making a massive profit. And there's certain people that act like it's a flop, which are freaking clueless because this movie's making a lot of money based
What
on
is
the.
it made? Kenny, do you know?
I think it's made over 100 million. I'm not particularly sure,
It was
but
only
it's
15 million to make.
yeah, it only cost 15 million. The conversion rate I think is maybe closer to 20 if you time out like the currency in Japan, but still the movie's making a bunch of money and it's just a great movie. And yeah, there's people saying that like trying to bring politics into it, which is the crazy thing. Like there's no politics in this movie. They discuss things about, Japan at the end of the war and stuff that happened, but they don't make it a political thing at all, which is just so refreshing in a movie.
No, I didn't
Uh,
think.
yeah. So, but yeah, this movie, I think we basically covered all the spoilers. I mean, I just I moved my score to a 9.5. I went all the way from an 8 to a 9.5. I don't want to give it a 10 just because I said I think I need a little more Godzilla. Um, but yeah, this movie was phenomenal, and I think we covered all the spoilers.
Nah, probably missed a couple, but yeah, we did cover quite a few.
But do you guys want to add anything to this Orlando review?
And this overall is a really good movie, and we're debating possibly seeing it down here if we have a rainy day or two. I might have a chance to go watch it again in theaters. But yeah, definitely a really solid movie, and I would definitely go with a 9 out of 10. I think you gave it an 8.5, and Kenny, you're going with a 9.5.
9.5.
Yeah, I'm at 8.5, but I could go as far as 9. I think too. Again, they did a really good job with this movie. Again, I'm sitting there watching a movie that, when you're reading subtitles like that for that long, and I think I admitted to you, I think I missed a couple in there. It's hard not
Yeah,
to, because you have to constantly read, and so I think they did a good job with that. But in the future, I don't know if we could mix in a little more, not don't have that as much might help. But then again, whatever they come up with, obviously the guy did a good job. They have something to build on, and now the expectations will be, higher for this next one. So
yeah,
hopefully they deliver. But it's definitely a really good movie, surprisingly good movie.
yeah. This is definitely a surprising movie of the year. This is easily gonna be my top 5. I was talking with Jake about it, possibly be my favorite of the year. It's got to be top 2 right now. Still not decided yet. But yeah, thank you for watching this spoilers discussion. See, Karen Martin just said
Yeah,
it's a really high thing. I need to see it. Yep.
you do need to see it, Karen. Get out and see it. That's Karen with a C. I can see, so that's
And
good.
that's not the fake Mountain Warriors. It's the real Mountain Warriors in the chat, too. So, yeah, thank you for watching this spoilers discussion. If you haven't seen Godzilla -1, definitely go see it. This is a great movie, and it did not flop like a certain Grace Randolph said on YouTube. So this is a big success. Congrats to the producers of this movie, and go support films like these.
Kenny, hey, Kenny, will the next one be Godzilla +1?
I don't
Or
think
how's
so.
that work?
It'll be Godzilla times Kong plus Mothra. No.
Is there any rumors of what's coming out next for this or no?
Now, I was looking it up. I don't think there's any plans yet, but with how successful it is, they've got to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're already starting to release it in more theaters now. So I think they've got plans. They have to have plans to make another one. I mean, it's just.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not gonna pretend like I was a fan of the old Godzilla movies. I'm a fan of the MonsterVerse ones. Then Shin Godzilla was fine, but this is just on a whole nother level. I mean, I know there's certain Godzilla fans that this still isn't their favorite one. They still like the older ones better, which is totally their opinion.
yeah,
But
man.
this is the one that is just this is so unbelievably far ahead of the other ones that
Are you talking about the old ones when I was a kid?
this is a new level. Yeah, because there's nostalgia aspects to it, I'm sure.
Yeah, there is.
And
I would tell you to go back and watch those if you want to have a good laugh, you know. And again, when I was a kid, I thought they were great, but I didn't have anything to compare it with. And so there are some that actually they're not too bad, especially again with what they back then had to make these. But I think this is much better for sure.
yeah, there's obviously Godzilla super fans, and as I've already been commenting with in my recent versus video. But yeah, once again, thank you everyone for watching, and we will be doing a movie review coming soon with a particular cat and a certain evil witch. We're doing some universal themed movie review.
Watches of the certain evil witch. What's going on, JoJo?
Hey JoJo, what's going on? Yeah, hey, stay tuned though, because a certain movie starring a cat that has something to do with Universal is coming soon. Look forward to that. Great movie. And sorry, JoJo, you're just getting here now. We're about to close this off, but stay tuned. You can obviously watch this back too for that movie review coming soon. But I'm going to close this off. I don't know if when I close this off, how fast it's going to end. But we will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.
See you guys. Take care, JoJo.